even a dinner, because who might be behind that door? This is what we should have learned from both slavery and Jim Crow. Force is not an American ideal.
No.
Just not. That was a lesson of both slavery and Jim Crow. Force. In this environment that we're in now, where people are forcing people to buy into ideas that are inconsistent with their worldview, it's got to stop. Our challenge today is that out of control debt, enslavement to government, and broken families is not a formula for a great country. But the good news is we can change. That's why I keep going to these colleges, because we can change. And I know if I pour in a little bit and get your thoughts stimulated, that maybe we can start thinking of new ideas so we can change. The good news is that every place that's untouched by government is doing just fine. American ingenuity is doing just fine. It is a fact. They have a picture of the new Apple facility in the paper the other day. You should see that place. Oh, man. Yeah, Uber? I mean, they're doing wonderful. Where government can't catch up with them yet, can't catch up with the internet, it's trying, but it can't yet. And things are moving well. But when we see political force and big government, it's stagnation. So we have to ask ourselves some serious questions. One is, do we have the moral drive and the political will to make the hard policy changes that are necessary for America to reverse these trends and get back to the agenda of the founding principles of traditional values, limited government, free markets, and a country where we're in sync with one another that we put on this union? I think it's too late. And what we're doing at Cure is we're just starting with the weakest link. Because we believe we can get that weakest link fixed. That 1/4 of the budget, we're $4 trillion budget in Washington, D.C. 1/4 of it is going into these programs, and no one can name one that's working. And maybe we can actually help people recover their lives. So we're actually advancing 5 policy ideas with the President and the new administration. And in the Congress, Paul Ryan has already determined, even before this administration came in, that we're going to next round block grant 11 programs to the states. The last time we did welfare reform was only 1 program. So we're preparing all of that today. As I said, it's like baseball. So a lot of the activity behind baseball, you don't see it all when they're practicing. And they're getting ready to get up there. And then they get up and they get that one hit at the net. And they hit at that ball and hope that they do it. Well, these policy ideas, I'm going to run through real quickly, and then hopefully I'll be able to take some of your questions. The first thing that we need to do is that we need to end abortion subsidies. We need to end abortion, but we need to end the subsidies right now. For $520 million of our tax money that goes straight to Planned Parenthood. Everybody you know, everybody you know, everybody they know, everybody knows all the way out how many times, it still doesn't add up to that kind of money. So we're just writing the check straight to them. And that's just not something that Americans that believe in the value of life should be forced to do. But it's not, abortion is not salvation. It really is a crime against humanity. Like we were just talking about in the car. If you take away the name Roe v. Wade and Dred Scott and just read the language, it's almost verbatim. And those of you that are not familiar with the county court's decision on Dred Scott was a slave. And when his masters moved him into a state that was a free state, he sued. And they went back, but he was like, I'm in a free state, I'm free. And the court said, you're not even human. And that's what we're doing now with these little infants. But bigger than that, well, I don't know if I should say bigger than that, but I know it is a crime against humanity, but we should also be concerned that abortion feeds into this narrative of victimhood, as if women have no control of their sexual impulses. And in that, people become very reckless in their decisions, and that's how you get to the place where it's just out of control. And 5 years after Dr. King's death, Roe v. Wade became national law, which opened the door for the abortion industry then to target poor black women. That was their goal. That was Margaret Sanger's goal. Get rid of what she called human weed. That she duped the society into believing that it's a good idea to target these poor black women with messages to kill their offspring. Well, have they been successful, Planned Parenthood? Well, you determine. The black abortion rates, 1,400 a day, 40,000 a month, 500,000 a year. And in fact, in 2005, it was 683,000. Now, 18 million since Roe v. Wade. Is it any wonder that our nation's most at-risk and hard-to-hit communities are drowning in moral madness? Can we put ourselves in the shoes of the person who is conditioned to believe that this activity is okay, and then wonder why everything else in their life is the tragedy of the commons? It's just a deadly illusion. And this escape valve is available for you so that you don't have to be responsible with the decisions that you make. If you don't want to be poor in America, it's really not rocket science. If you don't want to go to prison in America, it's really not rocket science. You just get an education, you get a job, you get married before you get pregnant, you have children after you're married, you save and invest some of your money, you give some of your time and your treasure to a local charity. And if you do these things, your chances of being poor in this country are minuscule. They really are. All of the data shows it. Yet in poor communities all across the country, these behavioral checkpoints have been basically left unchecked. People think it's fine. And their liberals protect it. Yeah. You know, we're talking about the homeless. I was exploring it yesterday down in LA area. Homeless is not. Yeah, you know why you're overrun with homeless in Los Angeles? It's not just a sanctuary city for the illegals, it's a sanctuary city for homeless. They think that the people are fine in that state. So they allow for people just to keep giving money. So now you have places like Denver who say, well, we don't want these homeless to stay. They are now buying their homeless one-way tickets to LA. Telling them, well, you know what, it's warmer down there. You'll do better living on the street out that way. Free country, and they want them here, I suppose. So that's the first thing we need to do in abortion. The second thing, because it feeds this narrative. This is why this continues. When you don't think that you have a role in your own life, you just begin to live very recklessly, and it's very costly to your emotional state and to the country. The second thing we're going to do is block grant all of these welfare entitlement programs to the state. And as you've seen, it's gotten really messy already. Just in the discussions about Medicaid in the health bill. But that's just too bad. It's just noise. I keep telling you, stop complaining, guys. How about you live next to a train track? You hear the train, but after a while, you don't hear it anymore. These liberals, they can roam over here, but we have the power to get these things done. And we're going to block grant all of this to the states. So the states need to start getting prepared. And so in this state in particular, you need to start preparing, because what's going to happen in California, if you keep letting the trend left, is all of the good is going to leave, like what happened to Detroit. They didn't think that the people were leaving. No, money is fungible, and it's going to where it can make more of itself and protect itself. And in a free country, people will leave. That middle class that has the resources will leave. That's what happened in Detroit. People look at Detroit, wow, what happened? They were 1.2 million and they dropped to 400,000 people. That's what happened. And the people will leave here too, and you'll just have the wealthy and the poor.
That's it.
And this is not a really good idea. So we're block granting housing policy, healthcare policy, retirement policy. Laws that force people to live in ghettos should be rethought. So yeah, we have a doctor, a surgeon over at HUD. Yep, he's going to do the surgery. It's not going to be easy. That's wrong. In fact, that's wrong. You think healthcare touches 6 of the economy. HUD touches every life.
Yeah.
HUD houses Fannie and Freddie, which guarantee 90% of the mortgages in the country. So he's going very lightly with the changes that you have to do. But it's like your doctor told you, hey, you got a cancer now, got to go in and get it out. You're not doing much complaining then, now are you? He's like, all right, put us on a sedative and let me just get through this, and I'm going to stay in the hospital as long as I can live. And if we're going to live as a country, we have work that we have to do. Government-controlled health care and retirement promises are not good public policy, so they must be performed. States are where we should be looking for ways to remove these barriers to mobility and incorporate market-based ideas to help the poor life. Because if they don't work, we can change it easier. And if another state's doing a really good job, we can kind of use some of their ideas. And in fact, a lot of the new healthcare law that's being discussed is from the state of Indiana. And not because the vice president came from the state of Indiana as the governor, it's because they've implemented things that are really working. And so they're attempting to bring in some of these state ideas so that there will be more flexibility, so more people will get quality care, not just care. That they'll be able to get insurance. Because that's where the real question is. What do you do about that group that can't get insured? Because if you want health care, you can either deliver it for yourself by eating right. Who just told me that somebody was giving away Brussels sprouts for Halloween?
Yuck.
Those poor kids.
Ew. Hate Brussels sprouts.
Because they have to take care of everybody. So, and that's why it's so complicated. We're a vast society. So everybody says, oh, well, look, it works in Europe. Europe is monolithic. They don't put their immigrants on. And we do. So some people have to be concerned about sickle cell. Others have to be concerned about skin cancer. Some people spend an hour every day in the gym. Some spend 5 hours on the couch with a bag of potato chips. And we're a free country, okay? You have like 30 different kinds of potato chips on one shelf.
That's right.
So we have to think about all these things. So you want it more local, so that we can think about it. And you do want the people in the industry to help do the thinking. I cannot believe how much folks are mad at lobbyists and say, well, what are they doing? They're there because they know the industry. Of course they're going to be there to give their ideas. The only reason you don't have a lobbyist is because they haven't come after you. Lobbyists are like lawyers and doctors. Of course, we all hate them too. And we hope that they know what they're doing. The states should be thinking about very creative experiments. And so as we reform the state of California as well, I'm still a resident of California, so there's a whole lot of reforming that needs to go on here. And I'm going to energize you to help start the process, because I'm up there doing the mothership things. I saw that movie Independence Day. I don't watch many movies, but every Independence Day we kind of watch that little movie, and remember they had to get in that mothership. And they would take out all the rest of them. And that's what welfare policy is. Only other way to get out of it is you got to come to Washington and get a waiver. So we figured, why don't we just let the states do the stuff? And we can look down in Dallas and see what they're doing in housing reform. They allow their HUD recipients and eligible people to get a voucher and go live wherever they want to. And what's interesting is they don't really leave their neighborhoods. But the fact that they can corrects their neighborhood. It's just fascinating to watch what happens when you make just little tweaks, little reforms. South Carolina on tax incentive to attract job creators to rural communities. When Nikki Haley was the governor of South Carolina, she said, you want to come in my state? Here's your tax. Oh, if you go into that zip code, here's your tax. And so business is flooding in there. If you go into South Carolina now, you will think that you are in international place. It's metropolitan, let's just say. Especially since being Dummy came in and moved all those executives in, it's almost German. Everything is alive downtown Greenville now. It's just incredible, the reform that has happened to a state that almost decimated during the Civil War and didn't do real well coming out of Jim Crow. Or Kansas on criminal justice reform, they got some amazing things going on there where they're partnering their youth correctional programs with private charities. There is no wall of separation of church and state. And when people keep insisting that there is, you're removing people from the solution they may need. I don't know what could have changed me if somebody didn't look me in the eye and put their finger in my face and tell me my lifestyle was unacceptable to God. It is not our decision to say what is going to motivate somebody to leave the situations that they're in. So you want the private sector at the table. As Apostle Paul told Titus, he said, some men you want compassion, but others need to be thrust out. Well, that's not the role of government. Government is arbitrary. It's equal. That's the role of individuals, just decent people, free people, serving free people, to have the ability to tell them how to correct their lives. That's the challenge with what we're doing in homelessness right now. The government running the situation, they think the social state's just fine. We should just make them comfortable in it. The private, which is more often than not religious, they think that no, they have more to offer. And we want to find it. We want to help them discover it so that we can help them get out of this state of affairs. And you can look at the two, and it is starkly different. So we want more of what works for people, not for some social experiment that throughout mankind has reduced us to savagery. Or in Galveston, Texas, you want to look at personal lines and Social Security, they've already done it. You know, most of the people that are in charge of Washington, they've opted themselves out of the current Social Security system. Teachers used to be out of the current Social Security system, so it can't be all that good. You know, why does everybody else have to be forced to be in a system that nobody else wants to be in? So that's the second thing we need to do. The third thing we need to do is parental choice in education. In fact, I was with some folks the other day, and they said it looks like California might get another swing at that ball. But the challenge I think we had last time in California with Prop 174 is we tried to do the whole state. This is not the best way to eat a cow. You've got to do that one single state at a time. So what we want to do is do like they do in many of the other social experiments for school choices. You just start with the weakest link, and then you build it out. In fact, the first experiment in the country that got pulled into a lawsuit by the ACLU and the NAACP started just K through third grade, little bitty neighborhood in Ohio. They won. And so now we have more opportunities for money to follow children to the schools that parents want. But many states have blame amendments. That's why this last election was so important to get a good Supreme Court justice, because a case out of Missouri is at the court, and they heard it a couple of weeks ago. It was a good thing that Gorsuch was on there, because to put in your state constitution that parents don't have options for where they send their children to school because the school might have a cross on the wall, it's just not really the state's role. And so we need to make sure that those blame units are out of here. I mean, this is the only thing, you just can't say enough about educational choice, in particular for the poor. This is the only opportunity that we as a free society get to interject ourselves in other people's children's lives. We can't do it through the internet because we're not China. We're not going to have internet controls. We can't do it through the entertainment world. We're not Iran. No, this K through 12 is the only place that we get to help direct the culture of our youth. So we should have freedom in K through 12. Let money go where the parent wants it to. And one of the main reasons that liberals object to this is because poor parents overwhelmingly choose religious schools and choose Catholic schools. They know something about their own lives that even the social assessors don't know. And that's, I know I'm messed up, but I don't want my kid messed up. So I'm going to take them to that school where a man has on a collar, he's got a Bible in one hand and a stick in another, so they'll learn.
That's right.
They don't want their kids dead in the street. They don't want their kid going to prison for the rest of their life. In fact, one of the stark contrasts, Michael Brown and Simone Biles, we both know those names. We know Michael Brown because we saw him bleeding to death in the streets of Ferguson. You know, I went up to that school in Ferguson. I wanted to see for myself. And I tell you, money was not the problem. You can take that school and put it right in the middle of Beverly Hills and no one would notice. It was beautiful, manicured, lawns, everything. Money was not the issue. And the challenge for Michael Brown, 2 weeks before his death, he received his high school diploma from that school that had lost its accreditation. He received a worthless piece of paper. Well, we saw his life. We saw the reckless situation that he was born into, where at 2 years old, these kids, when they're born in these homes with no dad there, the first lesson they learn is commitment is not important. Then they go out into this community that government owns, which is the tragedy of the commons. No one owns it. And so no one takes care of it. Then they go to these cesspools we call schools, and they learn all this secular humanism. And by the time he got to high school, he gets that little piece of paper that was worthless and ends up in the street. Well, Simone Biles was also raised born into that set of circumstances. She was born in a home that, at 2 years old, in fact, there were 4 of them, and they were in the foster system. That's how bad that situation had gotten. And her granddad adopted her and her sister. I think her cousin or someone adopted their 2 boys. And they put the children in a Catholic school where they learned structure. A moral framework was built in that young woman. And then they homeschooled her. And then she went and got the gold for all of us. They say that she's one of the most fabulous gymnasts in the history of the world. That's what an educational opportunity will do for somebody, and it's the only place that we as a free people get to interject ourselves. This argument to keep ourselves from being able to do that has to stop. And in particular situations like Michael Brown, because he was in Missouri, they have a Blaine amendment. And I think it's fascinating that that was the case that went to the Supreme Court, Missouri case about a playground. And it's challenging Blaine, so we'll see what happens in June. And if it opens up opportunities for school choice, then yes, this community should jump on and get your kids out of the failing schools that the government controls into schools to recognize their humanity. The fourth thing we should do is corporate tax-free zones in our most at-risk zip codes. This is going to be a little harder for us to sell because there are a lot of people that don't like what Jack Kemp coined as enterprise zones. Mostly the libertarian and freedom caucus will push back on that one, but it needs to be done because you've got to start creating work in these communities that are most hard hit if you're going to be then asking them to go to work. And then the fifth thing, final thing is individual and corporate charity tax credits. So that you give to the outreaches in these at-risk zip codes, outreaches that are working. They need the money. This is not something that we should be sending to Washington and letting come back here. We need to cut the middleman. That people give dollar for dollar right to the organizations that they want to and write it off of their federal obligation. So in closing, I just want to tell you that I read this quote in Forbes magazine a few months back, and it said, "You cannot change things by fighting the existing reality. To change things, you must build a new model to make the existing model obsolete." Okay, so to change things, you've got to build a new model to make the existing model obsolete. And I think we have a door of opportunity for us today to build a new model when it comes to fighting poverty, when it comes to reassessing what we do for the weakest and most vulnerable so that the whole society will begin to lift up. And I hope that you will join me in walking through it. This president said he wants to do it, and we're going to help him reach his goal. Thank you.